This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on Microsoft layoffs, the PS5 Pro's big reveal, a promising superhero game, and a long-forgotten bird makes a return to mobile. We've got all of this week's gaming news. Let's go. The PS5 Pro has been rumored for months and months. It has even been teased by PlayStation themselves, who snuck in a cheeky silhouette of the PS5 Pro in an image celebrating 30 years of PlayStation. Well, in last week's PlayStation technical presentation with lead architect Mark Cerny, PlayStation finally unveiled the PS5 Pro. The design of the PS5 Pro matches leaks from across the internet sharing design elements with the PS5 Slim and the subtle addition of 3 stripes on either side. It's a shame it wasn't 5 stripes, but what do I know? Maybe 5 stripes would have been too straightforward. Hardware-wise, the PS5 Pro has upgraded the size of its graphics power by 67% over the original PS5, added 2 terabytes of storage, improved ray tracing, and added AI-driven upscaling they're calling PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. The PS5 Pro is unfortunately a digital-only console for the time being. Those who want to play physical media on their PS5 Pro will have to shell out an additional $80 for the disk drive. The console, as it stands, is $700 US, which is roughly $950 Canadian at the time of this recording, and is available for pre-order on PlayStation's website starting September 26th. All other retailers will begin accepting pre-orders 2 weeks later, starting October 10th. The PS5 Pro officially launches on November 7th, just in time for the holiday season. Now that the PS5 Pro mayhem has got everyone thinking about their hard-earned money and the best way to spend it, $700 is a lot to ask for just one console. With $700, you can buy 2 refurbished digital PS5s from PlayStation Direct, or 4 Switch Lites from GameStop, or 10 brand new games. No matter how many ways you slice it, it's a lot. So it comes as no surprise that gamers were really feeling the sticker shock when Sony revealed the PS5 Pro's $700 price tag. This sticker shock quickly turned to outrage online, with many demanding how Sony could justify the cost of their latest console. In the opinion of Pierce Harding-Rolls, the games industry analyst at Ampere, the PS5 Pro pricing exhibits Sony's unwillingness to sell its consoles at a loss. Other elements like lack of competition and supply chain inflation that have plagued the tech industry for over 4 years also played a crucial role in dictating the price of the PS5 Pro. But justified or not, this didn't stop people on social media from expressing their opinions and memeing the PS5 Pro for its inflated price point and lack of a disk drive. Twitter user and Ontario local Kazoo Crash tweeted, "So let me get this straight. The PS5 Pro is $700 US, which means it will probably be close to, if not more expensive than $1,000 Canadian, and it doesn't come with a disk drive, which is confirmed to cost $100 Canadian separately." What were they thinking? Sony's decision to release the PS5 Pro without a disk drive has created a ripple effect and driven sales of the PS5 disk drive through the roof. Prospective PS5 Pro owners, physical media enthusiasts, and scalpers are responsible for the spike, causing many online retailers like Amazon, Target, and Best Buy to sell out of the disk drive entirely. As expected, the disk drive has appeared on auction sites, with listings fetching upwards of $120. Video games and superheroes go together like Mario and Luigi. Sony has Spider-Man and Warner Brothers has Batman. But there is one superhero that has been left out of the conversation entirely: Superman. Video games have been like kryptonite for the Man of Steel, with Superman 64 consistently finding itself in the running as the worst game of all time. So it begs the question, will there ever come a time when we'll see a good Superman game? Well, thanks to 3 students from Osaka's Banten Game Academy, you can play a good Superman game right now, and the best part, it's free. Okay, so it isn't an official Superman game, but their game titled Undefeated stars an invincible superhero with unlimited superpowers. Sound familiar? In Undefeated, you fly around your very own metropolis, where you put out fires, save civilians trapped under rubble, and beat the stuffing out of thugs and supervillains who pose a threat to your city. Undefeated has a very positive rating on Steam, where many are calling it the best Superman game ever, official or not. The trio from Osaka now have their own video game studio called Indie Us Games and are taking Undefeated to new heights with help from indie publisher Chorus Worldwide. Their next game, Undefeated Genesis, promises to be a fully featured experience where, as the hero, you battle monstrous enemies and explore the depths of your superpowers on an alien planet. Undefeated Genesis isn't expected to come out until 2026, but in the meantime, you can download the game responsible for their success for free on Steam and PS5. 142. That is my high score for Flappy Bird on my iPhone 5 before it flew the coop back in 2014 and left the App Store and Google Play Store for good. Since then, the Flappy Bird IP has changed hands a couple of times, but the swaps never resulted in a new game for the mobile gaming mascot. Until now. That's right. After a decade of nothingness, Flappy Bird is returning to the nest thanks to the Flappy Bird Foundation, who recently acquired the rights for the official Flappy Bird trademark from GameTech Holdings LLC. Flappy Bird is set to return to mobile and various other platforms in 2025. Flappy Bird has changed over the 10 years that it's been gone, and the re-release will launch with new game modes, characters, progression, and multiplayer challenges. The video game industry has taken another big hit when Microsoft laid off 650 staff from its gaming division last week. Many of those who were let go by the video game giant found out via an email sent to staff from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer, which read, "We have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. I know that this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning they are impacted. No games, devices, or experiences are being canceled, and no studios are being closed as part of these adjustments today. We appreciate your support as we navigate these changes, and we thank you for your compassion and respect for each other." If you're keeping score, this marks 2,550 total layoffs made by Microsoft since January 2024. Then in June of 2024, Microsoft closed Tango Gameworks, developer of Hi-Fi Rush, one of Microsoft's most critically acclaimed titles of this generation. Now it's time to go over the video games releasing this week.
Games out this week.
On September 17th, Marco Beyond Brave and Final Fantasy XVI is ported over to the PC. Star Wars Jedi Survivor also gets ported over to last gen's consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One. The Plucky Squire jumps off the page and onto PS5, PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. September 18th, UFO 50 brings the retro vibes over to PC. GT Manager floors onto PC and Android. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is resurrected on the PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars Reforged gets a second chance on all platforms. Then on September 19th, God of War Ragnarok enters the Mystic Gateway to PC. And Atria The Last Song reveals the game behind the mask on PS5 and PC. And on September 20th, Frostpunk 2 thaws onto the PS5, PC, Xbox Series X and S, and gets a day one release on Game Pass. Matchbox Driving Adventures and The Karate Kid Street Rumble double kick onto all platforms. The Epic Games Store is offering 2 free games this week. Toem and The Last Stand Aftermath will be available for download from September 19th until the 26th.
Quest complete.
So that's it for the news this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Parris Lilly returns to This Week in Gaming to chat about where we're at in the current console generation, now with the PS5 Pro being announced, and what that means for consumers.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Hey Parris, welcome back to the show. So good to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
It'd been a minute. How are you enjoying summer? What have you been playing?
Oh man, what have I not been playing is probably the bigger question. Just obviously all the big releases that have been coming out this summer. I mean, more recently, I've just been very smitten with Astrobot. I really just love that game. It's probably my favorite game that I've played so far this year. Really loving that. A few things I'm currently playing that's under embargo, so I can't talk about right now.
Of course.
But it's been a busy summer though. It's been good.
That's good. But speaking of Sony, we got a big one this week. There was obviously rumors spreading, but PS5 Pro is official. They have a price tag. What are your initial thoughts just about the console itself, features-wise?
Feature-wise, not too surprised by what it, and obviously there have been some rumors ahead of this anyways, but not too surprised by the specs of what the PS5 Pro is potentially going to be able to do. I think the biggest feature out of all of this is the PSSR, which is essentially Sony's version of NVIDIA's DLSS, so frame regeneration, AI, upscaling, things like that. That's where we're going to see a lot of the performance increase as far as frame rate goes, and then allowing them to have more fidelity in these games on the Pro. I think probably the biggest thing that obviously a lot of people are talking about is the price. Being at $700 for the all digital version. And then you can buy the add-on disk drive, I think, for an additional $80. So essentially we're talking about an $800 console if you get everything included. I personally thought it was going to come in around about $650. I thought that seemed like the more reasonable thing. So for it to come in a little higher at $700, I mean, it's slightly disappointing. I mean, nobody wants to give away their money, obviously, but I do think there's an audience for this. I think we've even just seen on Amazon with the uptick in people buying that disk drive to go with it shows that there is an audience for this. There's going to be a demand for it. It really just comes down to this. I think the average person probably sticks with their PS5 because it's obviously still going to play all the games and they already look great on the PlayStation 5. But there is an enthusiast audience out there that cares about, they want the biggest and the best. They want the most frames they can get. They want the most fidelity that they can get on a console. So yeah, I do think even at $700, you're going to see people run out and want to go buy this thing. Now, I will also say on the flip side, I've seen a lot of people say, well, why don't you just go build a PC? I mean, honestly, sure, you can probably bargain shop in there, but the average person, again, is not going to want to just go build a PC. They want the convenience of a console under their television. So for $700, if it is getting the performance that Mark Cerny talked about in that technical preview, I mean, is it probably worth it? Yeah. Is it still pricey from what we're used to with console gaming? Yeah, but we'll obviously see in November what the demand looks like. But I think it's going to be pretty high, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean, I was wondering what the perspective was of, how many people are going to go out and buy this day one. And also, $700. I saw some people post about, inflation. We have had one other PlayStation console that was a bit more expensive. I think it was the PS3 comparatively, if we're adjusting for inflation. What's that mean for the PS6? Is that going to be something that's going to soon come out? What does this mean for GTA 6 when the game comes out? Like, who do you think this console is for? You said it's for the enthusiasts. What about people who really want to get like the GTA 6 full-fledged experience, right? When that comes out. I
think, again, that GTA 6 is kind of the big elephant in the room here when it comes to this PS5 Pro, because essentially that is going to be the best place to play Grand Theft Auto 6 when it comes out. And I'm knocking on wood, probably by holiday of 2025. So by a year from now, when we get to that point when GTA 6 is out, is it doing 60 frames per second? Is it doing the ray tracing and all these things? Is it doing enough from a visual and performance standpoint to stand out from the baseline PlayStation 5 and from the Xbox Series X? Because that just goes back to what we were talking about previously. I think the average person is going to just stick with what they already have, especially at the elevated price. If these games look good enough on the console already owned, why am I upgrading, to this Pro version? But then on the flip side, like I said, there is an audience that, I want whatever performance increases that I'm going to see on this PlayStation 5 Pro. I would say again, I know it was only a 9-minute technical preview. We've still not, I was hoping to see, I knew that PlayStation didn't have a new game that was coming out this holiday to kind of showcase it, but I was hoping that we would see some maybe Spider-Man 2 DLC, some kind of expansion that would showcase, hey, here's why you want to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. I didn't think the games they showed highlighted what it can do. I know Digital Foundry is doing their thing right now, so obviously see when they come out with their report. I would assume closer to launch, hopefully we'll be able to get hands-on with it as well. But I want to see some new titles. Maybe an Assassin's Creed Shadows, as an example, might be something that can show off what the PS5 Pro can do this holiday. But to bring this all the way back around, I really think it is next year that you're going to see the potential of this hardware.
People are going to be buying for, when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. And I think, because ultimately games do sell consoles, I think. That still reigns true, at least in my perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does that mean for PS6? Do you have any speculation at this point? Is, the next official console from Sony, like at what point in the cycle are we at for people who aren't familiar with that kind of process?
My guess is I'm looking more 2028 for a PlayStation 6. So I still think we'll get a few years here with the Pro. And I'm just going by the previous cycle of how we saw PlayStation 4 mid-gen refresh with the Pro, and then obviously 2020 we got the PS5. So the math of that kind of leans towards, and especially with the pandemic, kind of delayed some things as well. I think that kind of leads towards, all right, if we're getting a Pro right now, they'll probably want to get at least about 3 years out of this before they start asking people to spend more money on a new console. So yeah, I'm thinking holiday 2028 would probably be the time.
And real quick, for those who are not familiar, what is Digital Foundry? Could you quickly do a quick summary? So people who are listening are like, well, he said Digital Foundry. I have no idea what that is.
So I'll try my best to explain this. So from what I understand, and I could be a little off on this, Digital Foundry is an extension of Eurogamer. They're obviously based out of Europe, but they do a lot of technical tests and previews of games and hardware to say, hey, here's what the performance looks like on the Xbox Series X for this game, or here's what it looks like on the PlayStation 5. But then they'll look at the actual hardware itself and kind of dive into the weeds of the technical specifications of their hardware, so people know what they're spending their money on and what they can expect. They've kind of become the de facto leader in the gaming space of, all right, what can I expect from a game? Digital Foundry is going to tell me from a technical perspective.
Okay, good. Thanks for explaining that. Now let's look at how this compares to Microsoft. Now, we know Microsoft has been kind of leaning away from the console side of things. Where do you think they stand now that Sony's come out with the new PS5 Pro and announced all that?
Well, I think, again, Phil Spencer has told us this over the past couple of years that they weren't going to do a mid-gen refresh this time. And it really doesn't seem like they have an incentive to do that for exactly what you're saying. They're obviously exploring going out into more platforms, bringing games to PlayStation, cloud, etc. So it seems like they're going to stand pat with what they have for this generation. There's obviously been rumblings about what their next generation offering could be. I believe Sarah Bond said earlier this year it'll be the biggest technical leap that we've seen on console hardware. There's obviously been rumblings about this mythical Xbox handheld that might make an appearance at some point, but it seems like in the short term, they've already shown their hand that they're coming out with an all digital Xbox Series X, and then they're coming out with a 2 terabyte version of the Xbox Series X. And that's about all we're going to get, at least for this holiday. Now, could we see a year from now this mythical handheld? Maybe not. I personally think 2026 is probably where we see Xbox start to make a move towards new hardware, both as a console that sits under your television, and then there's probably this handheld, because that just seems like the logical next step for them. There clearly is an audience for handhelds now, so it looks like they want to jump into that market as well. So I'm just thinking they'll stand pat, as I said, and wait till probably 2026 and kind of jumpstart the next generation of console gaming early, like they did with the 360.
You think 2026, 2028, like these are kind of far off at this point, definitely 2028. But I would say, I'm just curious what you think this means for console-less generation. Will we ever be at a point where consoles at this point just can't be as good as a PC? PC is too advanced at this point, or vice versa. Like the plug and play element of consoles are still appealing, I think, to a lot of people. But what's your perspective on that? Do you think we'll ever see a point where consoles just don't exist anymore?
I think we're clearly going to get one more round of this. But if you think of it this way, by the time we get to the end of the next console generation, PlayStation 6, whatever Xbox is doing, we're in the 2030s at that point. Yeah. A lot of the leaders in this industry are probably retired at that point. They're no longer doing this. So it'll be a whole new generation and perspective of people that'll be leading the way with gaming. Your point about pricing, that's kind of the interesting thing about all this. We're clearly seeing that pricing is starting to increase. Like if you think about the price of these consoles in 2020 It has not changed, and we're in 2024. If anything, they've increased. So are we going to get to a point where the price of having a PC versus a console is negligible, if I'm saying that correctly, versus a console was always a great low price entry point into gaming and obviously the ease of use. I also think Nintendo has kind of shown us moving forward with the hybrid handheld, where I can take these games with me anywhere I want to go. I can also plug it in and use it as a television, which I think this is something Xbox is probably going to do with their handheld. So maybe that's the future of gaming. There isn't just a simple set-top box anymore. It's about streaming games over to cloud, having hybrid handheld. Obviously, PC isn't going to go anywhere, and the traditional console that we've been used to over the last 30 years just is no more. Could be, but we'll see. But like I said, we're still a ways off from that, but it'll be interesting to see where we're at in 2030s when we get past the next generation of console gaming.
Yeah, I'm certainly curious to see if we'll still be doing this in that much time in 2030. If we'll be still, But thank you so much, Parris. Always so great having you on here. I appreciate your perspective on stuff. And have a good rest of your week. Hope you're playing some fun stuff.
No, thank you for having me. I always appreciate you inviting me to come on. It's always a good time.
Parris Lilly is a host and creator for Kinda Funny and Gamertag Radio. You can follow him on Twitter at Vicious696.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's it for This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle. I had such a blast bringing you the news. Shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman, for helping me out. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you again, same time, same place. See ya.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.